All right. So here we are, FreeCodeCamp, learn intermediate algorithm thinking by building a dice game, right? So algorithmic thinking involves the ability to break down complex problems into a sequence of well-defined step-by-step instructions. In this dice game project, we're going to learn how to manage game state, implement game logic for rolling dice, we're going to keeping score, and applying rules for various combinations. This project covers concepts such as event handling, array manipulation, conditional logic, and updating the user interface dynamically based on game state. All right. So let's get to it. Here's number one. So it's going to look like this. Right here it says keep the above selected score, roll the dice here, and show the rules. Let's see the rules. So the total of 6 rounds. We can only roll the dice 3 times per round. Okay. To start the game, we're going to roll the dice. Then we're going to choose from one of the selected scores or roll the dice again. If we choose a selected score, then we will move to the next round. If we decline to choose a selected score, then we can roll the dice again plus 2 more times. Roll the dice again 2 more times. All right. So here's the points. We can get 3 of a kind. That's the sum of all 5 dice. Oh. So when we get a 3 of a kind, it's the sum of all the 5 dice. Okay, 4 of a kind will be the sum of all the 5 dice. And then we've got full house, 3 of a kind, and a pair is going to be 25 points. So what if we get like 3? What if we get like 4 ones and like a 4? That's not 25 points. Anyway, whatever. Full house, 3 of a kind, and a pair. Okay, small straight. 4 of the dice have consecutive values, so 30 points. And a large straight would be all 5 dice have consecutive values. That's 40 points. Okay, so 5 6s would be great. No, the large straight would be the best. Okay, so let's try that. Let's try for that. Keeps the above. Let's roll the dice. What is that? Nothing. Okay, let's try it again. Still nothing. Let's try it again. Still nothing. What is this, bad luck, huh? You made 3 rolls this round. There's a pair, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Well, that sucks. Okay. I guess we got to keep the above score. Nothing. Roll it, nothing. Okay, I guess we're going to take a large straight. That's what we want. Keep the above score. We'll take that. Roll the dice again. Nothing. And 30. So we got 70 points. Is that it? Is it just three rounds, right? Or 4 rounds? How many rounds? 6 rounds. Oh man, this is like Valorant. I'm already done and we still gotta play. 3 of a kind, score 11. Should we risk it? We got 2 rolls left. Yeah, we're risking. We had 1 roll left. 3 of a kind with 23. We'll take it. All right, let's choose this one. Okay, whatever. Choose this one. God, I don't want to play this anymore. It's like Valorant, you know how like it's like you lose like 3 times and you're like, oh, I'm done, and then they're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You gotta still play. And I'm just like, oh, I hate this game, and you need to quit playing forever. That's how I did it. Anyway, so yeah, so there's that. So let's go over step 1. And so in this project, we will learn algorithmic thinking by building a dice game. There are a total of 6 rounds, and for each round, the player can roll the dice up to 3 times and collect a score. The HTML and CSS have been provided for us. We're going to feel free to explore them. Let's do that. What's in the CSS? Anything nutty? We've got this autofill, this repeat autofill min-max. We've never done that before. I'm sure it's some sort of repeat thing, though. So, and then this is not normal. Hey, what's going on, Prajwell? It's going well. How about yours? So that's, yeah, this one's a little bit weird. The input type equals radio disabled plus label. I haven't really done that before, but you know, we could look it up if we wanted to. Let's go to the index.html, and it's a bunch of rules, and then we've got the divs with the dice, class die, like that. I don't see anything too wild. It is a lot, but nothing crazy. So there we go. So let's get to it. So when we're ready, that's good. That's, oh yeah, it's the end of the day for you over there. So when we are ready, we're going to use the query selector all method to target all elements with the class of die and assign that to a constant called list of all dice. Okay. So we'll say const list of all dice, const list of all dice equals, we'll say document dot query selector all, and inside of here we're going to do the class of die. So dot die like this. Great. There we go. And let's check it. Looks good, and submit it. All right, now we're on to step 2. So yeah, and die, as stupid as this word is, obviously we know the regular connotation of it, but this is a singular die. When there's 2 dice, it's dice. And then when there's 1, it's die. All right, that's what it is, just in case you guys are wondering. So the next step is to select all of the elements responsible for displaying the scores. We're going to use the query selector all method to access all of the input elements inside the score options class div. Okay. Element, and assign that result to a constant called score inputs. I don't know why we're not just going to use get element by ID, but this is what we're doing. So then we're going to use the query selector all method to access all of the span elements inside the score options. What is this? Oh, no. That's because we're doing the input elements. Okay, no, now I see. All right, so we're going to access all the span elements inside the score options ID div element and assign that result to a constant called score spans. Okay. So let's do score inputs first. We'll say const score inputs equals. Then we'll say document dot query selector all. And then inside here, we're going to target the ID score hyphen options. And then we're going to, I think, put space input like that. Let's check that first to see if this one's right, because that way we can just copy and paste it. All right, let's check it. Score spans. Okay, so this one's good. So let's just take this from 3 to 2, copy it, drop it off at the end of 3, and then we'll call this score spans. Spans. And we'll call this input right here span, like that. That should take care of it. Let's check the code. Looks good. And submit it. All right, now we're on to step 3. So now we're going to access the elements responsible for displaying the current round text. Okay. We're going to use the getElementById method to access the element with the ID of current round and assign that to a constant called current round text. Then we're going to use the getElementById method to access the element with the ID of current round roles and assign that to a constant called current round roles text. Okay. So let's do that. We'll say const current round text equals, and we're going to say document dot get element by ID, and inside here we're going to target current round, like that. We kept that off with a semicolon. Then we'll select it from the end of 5 to 4, copy that. We'll drop it off at the end of 5. We'll add in between round and text, we'll add the word roles, like that. And then we're going to call this one current round and hyphen roles after that. Roles. There we go. And let's check the code. Looks good, and submit it. All right, now we're on to step 4. So next we're going to access the elements responsible for displaying the score history and total text. We use getElementById, the getElementById method, pardon me, to access the element with the ID of total score and assign that to a constant called total score text. Then we'll do the same for score history and call it score history. Okay. So let's just take these. Let's take this one right here since it's only got 2. 4. Let's copy that from 4 to the end of 3. Select 7 and 6. Drop it off 1, 2 times like this. And then let's change up the first current round text and call it total score text. Total score text. The second one will change to score history. And then we'll change the first current round to total. And then round it will be score. And then we'll change this one to score and round it to history. All right. And hopefully that works. Let's check the code. Looks good and submit it. All right. Now on to step 5. So next we're going to access the buttons that are responsible for keeping the score and rolling the dice. Okay. So we're going to use getElementById, the getElementById method to access the element with the ID of roll dice button and assign it to a constant called roll dice button. And we'll do the same for keep score button and assign it the same name of keep score button. All right. So let's take these two, since they're both 2. No. Since we got 3, let's take number 5, line 5 to the end of 4. Copy that. Highlight 9 and 8. Drop it off 1, 2 times. The ID is going to be roll dice button for roll dice button. So let's call this one, this top one, roll dice BTN. All right. And the next one we'll call keep score BTN. Keep score BTN like that. We'll change this one to, this bottom one to keep, maybe, let's just highlight it. Reaching for the mouse 2 times or 3 times is no good. Let's call it keep hyphen score hyphen BTN like that. Then we'll highlight this one and we'll call it roll hyphen dice hyphen BTN as well. All right, so let's check the code. Looks good and submit it. All right, now on to step 6. So next we're going to need to access the container responsible for displaying the rules. All right. We will also need to access the buttons responsible for showing and hiding the rules. Okay. So we're going to use query selector to access the element with the class of rules container and assign that to a constant called rules container. Okay. And then we'll do the same for rules button. Okay. What? Oh, class. Okay. So we'll say const rules container equals document. Do we already have a query selector? We got query selector all. Let's take one. Let's take one here, copy it, drop it off here, and then we'll change it up and then we'll copy this one and drop it off. So let's change the list of all dice to rules container. Change it from query selector all to just query selector, and we'll say instead of dot die, we'll go dot rules hyphen container. There we go. And then we'll select 11 to 10, copy that, drop it off. Rules container will change to rules button. So let's just highlight container and call it BTN. BTN, and then we'll do BTN right here. BTN like that. And let's check the code. Come on. Did what? Oh, it was a get element by ID. Come on now. All right, so let's just select this, copy it, drop it off. It tricked me, these guys. Check it, looks good, and submit it. All right, now we're on to step 7. So when the user clicks on the show rules button, they should be able to toggle between showing and hiding the game rules. We're going to use let to create a variable called isModal showing and assign it the value of false. Okay. So we'll say let is modal showing equals false. I kind of zoned out when I was reading this, so I'm going to read it again. So when the user clicks on the show rules button, okay, they should be able to toggle between showing and hiding the game rules. Okay, so that's what that is. Okay, and check it looks good and submit it. All right, now we're on to step 8. So each time the user rolls the dice, we're going to need to keep track of all of the dice values. So we'll use let to create a variable called dice values r and assign it the value of an empty array. Okay, so we'll say let dice values r equal an empty array, and that's going to be to keep track of all the dice values. Okay, so let's check the code. Looks good and submit it. All right, now on to step 9. So throughout the game, we will need to keep track of the current score, total score, number of rolls, and which round the player is on. We'll use let to declare 3 variables named rolls, score, and total score, and set all their values to the number 0. And then we'll use let to declare a variable named round and assign it the number 1. Okay. So rolls, score, and total score is going to be the number of rolls, the current score, and the total score. They didn't do this in order at all. And then this one's going to be for the round that the player's on. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll say let to start off with. In fact, we're just going to take this. We'll take this let right here, 14, copy it, drop it off 3 times, 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. We'll change the first is modal showing to rolls. Second, we'll change to score. Third, we'll make total score. And the fourth one will turn into round. We'll change this last false to 1, and then the other 3 will make 0. So 0, 0, 0, and 0. And that should take care of it. Let's check the code. Looks good, and submit it. All right, now on to step 10. So when the user clicks on the show rules button, the rules for the game should display on the screen. When they click on the button again, the rules should be hidden. So show it, hide it, show it, hide it, show it, hide it, and there we go. In the next few steps, we're going to build out the toggle functionality to show and hide the rules. We're going to start by using the add event listener method on the rules button. What do you call that? Rules button const or variable. The rules button variable. For the first argument, we're going to pass in a click event, and for the second argument, we'll do an empty arrow function. Gotcha. So we'll do rules btn dot add event listener, and then we're going to have a click event, and then we're going to have the arrow after that, the arrow function. So the parentheses, the arrow, the empty object, and then we'll cap that off with a semicolon. Let's check the code. Looks good, and submit it. All right, now we're on to step 11. So every time the user clicks on the rule button, the current Boolean value for the isModal showing variable should toggle between true and false. Okay, so this thing should change whenever we click it. So we're going to use the logical not operator, the exclamation point. I don't know why they did it this way. In front of our isModal showing variable to invert the value and reassign that to the isModal showing variable. Okay. So we will say, yeah, not isModal showing. And that's a command in and of itself, right? It's saying make this the opposite of what it is right now. So let's check the code. Come on now. Come on now. That didn't work. Okay, so let's say isModal showing equals that. How about that? Okay, great. I mean, I didn't know. I'm learning this. Sorry, and submit it. All right, now we're on to step 12. I was confidently wrong. So if isModal showing is true, then we will need to show the rules and update the rules button text. We're going to start by adding an if statement to check if isModal showing is truthy. And inside our if statement, we're going to update the text content for the rules button by assigning it the string value of hide rules. Below that, we'll update the display property for our rules container by assigning it the string value of block. Gotcha. So we'll have an if statement to start off with. And we'll see is Modal showing, right? To see if it's truthy. And then if it is, we will say update the text content for rules button by assigning it the string value of hide rules. Okay. So we'll say rules btn now equals pardon me, hide rules. Okay. And that's going to be the text content. So we'll say dot text content. Rules button dot text content equals that. Let's cap that off with a semicolon. All right. And below that, we will update the display property for our rules container by assigning it the string value of block. Huh? I thought we were hiding it. Huh? Whatever. Let's just do what it tells us. So we're going to say rules container dot style dot display equals block, like that. And then we'll check the code. Looks good. And submit it. All right. Now we're on to step 13. I thought we were hiding it, though. Whatever. We'll figure it out later. So if isModal showing is false, then we will need to hide the rules and update the rules button text. Below our if statement, we're going to add an else clause. And inside our else clause, we're going to update the text content for the rules button by assigning it the string value of show rules. Below that, we're going to update the display property for our rules container by assigning it the value, the string value of none. And now we should be able to toggle the rules button and see the rules shown and hidden. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do else. And we're going to say rules btn dot. We should just take this. What am I doing? All right, we're just going to take this and drop this, and we're going to change it from hide rules to show rules, and from block to none. All right, and now we should be able to. It works. It definitely works. So if this is true, we're going to hide the rules, right? Rules container dot style dot display equals block. I thought this was the block, though. And if we click it again, we're going to hide it. Oh my God. Do I need to reset my computer? Is it glitching out pretty hard? Anyway, whatever. Looks good. Check the code. Looks good. And submit it. All right. Now we're on to step 14. That's still confusing me, though. Rules container dot style dot display equals block. This is not block right now. This is none. This is block. This is none. That doesn't make sense to me. Wait, what? Oh, look, it's because we're doing opposite day. All right, so we changed it. We changed isModal showing to not isModal showing, which makes it true. So now it's true. And then it says hide rules. The text content says hide rules in the rules button. Oh. So yeah, now it says hide rules here. And it's block. Okay. That's what it is. All right. That was killing me there for a second. I was like, what is going on with this opposite stuff? All right. So yeah, here we go. Step 14. When the user clicks on the roll the dice button, 5 random die numbers should be generated and displayed on the screen. For the next few steps, we will build out the roll dice, this roll dice algorithm, pardon me. We're going to start by creating an arrow function called roll dice. Okay. So we'll say const roll dice. Where are we right now? Dice. We are making a new one. So let's bring this back. Okay. So const roll dice equals, and we're going to make that equal an arrow function. So we'll have the, what is it? The parentheses. Then we'll have the equals with the angle brackets. So the arrow, and then we'll have the empty object with the semicolon. Let's check the code. Looks good, and submit it. All right, now we're on to step 15. So each time the user rolls the dice, the list of previous dice values should be reset. Inside our roll dice function, we'll reassign an empty array to our dice values R variable. Okay, inside our roll dice function, reassign an empty array. Huh? To our, what? Dice values R. Reassign an empty array. Isn't it already an empty array? Hold on. Let's do what it says. All right, so let's do this equals empty array. I guess maybe it would be filled up sometimes earlier when we did roll dice. Like sometimes it would be an array of numbers, and then so now we're changing it back to nothing. Okay, that's probably what it is. All right, so let's check the code. Looks good, and submit it. All right, now we're on to step 16. It would be cool if they would have told us that first, though. Did they tell us that? Each time the least, oh, it does say that. Each time the user rolls the dice, the list of previous dice values should be reset. Look, I zone out reading stuff for real. It's like, what day is this? How long have I been doing this? You know, sorry. But it is what it is. Anyway, so when the user rolls the dice, we will need to generate 5 random numbers representing each dice value, each die value. All right, so to start, we're going to create a for loop that will loop a total of 5 times. Okay. For loop in this day and age. All right. So we'll say for let I equals 0. While I is less than 5, we'll say I plus plus like this. And check the code. Looks good, and submit it. All right. Now on to step 17. So for each iteration of the for loop, we will need to generate a random number that represents one of the 6 possible values found on a die. Okay, so now we're going to generate a random number that represents one of 6 values. Okay, so we're going to use math.random to generate a random number ranging between 1 and 6 inclusive. We'll make sure to round that result down to the nearest whole integer. Then we'll assign the entire result to a const variable called random dice. So we'll say const, are we inside the for loop? Okay, const random dice equals, and then we'll do a math.random times 6, wrap that in parentheses, and then we're going to do a math.floor on that. Math.floor. What game had Marth in it? Wasn't it like a... It was one of those Nintendo DS games with Marth. What was the name of it? Fire Emblem? Anyway, check the code. Come on. I was so confident. We should add 1 to the end of the random results. Okay, plus 1. Come on. Is that not a math.floor? Oh, do I put math.floor after the 1? I mean, do I put the 1 after it? Okay, there we go. And submit it. All right, now we're on to step 18. So next we're going to push our random dice value to the end of the dice values R array. Push a random dice value to the end of the dice values R array. Okay, cool. So that should be easy. We'll say dice values R dot push random dice. And this is inside of a for loop, so we're going to do this 5 different times. Okay, so check the code, looks good, and submit it. All right, now on to step 19. So the next step is to display 5 random dice values on the screen, right? So right here. Below our for loop, we'll use the for each method on the list of all dice variable to loop through each of the dice. And for the callback function, we'll use dice and index as the parameters. Okay, so let's open up the for each. For each JavaScript, bam. We've been doing this a lot lately, but it's important because we're going to have the callback function right here. And inside of the callback function, the parameters are going to be first element, then index, then array. So if there's 3, we can also have an array, but we can only have these 3. And no matter what, elements first, index is second. So even if we named this index and this element, regardless, it would be the element first and index second, which we wouldn't do because that's ridiculous. But we could if we wanted to have some Cody code. But anyway, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a list of all dice. List of all dice dot for each. And then we will have the callback function dice and index with as the parameters. So we'll have dice comma index as the parameters. We'll have the arrow and we'll do the empty object like that. So let's check the code, looks good, and submit it. So now we're on to step 20. So inside our callback function, we're going to use the text content property on the dice parameter and assign it the value of dice values are at index. Okay. Pardon me. Inside our callback function, we'll use the text content property on the dice parameter. So we'll say dice dot, well, let's tab it over. Yes, dice dot text content equals dice values are at index. Great. And then we'll cap that off with a semicolon. All right, so let's check the code. Looks good, and submit it. All right, so that right there, every one of these, so it'll go to this one first, and it'll give it the value of whatever this array is at 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, right? So now it's time to test out the roll dice function. We're going to add an event listener, we're going to add an add event listener method on the roll dice button element and pass in a click event for the first argument and an empty arrow function for the second. All right. So we will do that. We'll say roll. Are we outside of it now? Yeah, we're outside of it now. Outside the for loop. So now we're going to say roll dice btn dot add event listener. And for the event, we're going to do a click event. So click. And then we'll do the empty arrow function for the second argument. So we'll have the parentheses. We'll have the arrow. And we'll have the empty object like that. And let's cap the thing off with a semicolon. So let's check the code. Looks good. And submit it. All right. Now we're on to step 22. So for each round in the game, users are allowed to roll the dice a maximum of 3 times. Inside the callback function, we're going to add an if statement to check if rolls is strictly equal to the number 3. If the condition is true, we'll show an alert to display the message, you have made 3 rolls this round. Please select a score. All right. So that's what we'll do. Inside our callback function, we'll add an if statement. If, and we'll see if rolls is strictly equal to 3. Rolls triple equals 3. Okay. And then we'll have the block of code right here. And if it's true, we're going to show an alert with the message, you have made 3 rolls this round, period. Please select a score. There we go. That should be it. Let's check the code. Looks good. and submit it. All right, now on to step 23. All right, so there's 87 of these, and so I'm going to stop on 22, even though we're kind of in the middle of a little sub project, but you know, I don't care. Just kidding. I do care. It is on my mind, but at the same time, so is taking a break right now. So we're going to take a break right now. We'll leave this on a cliffhanger, and we'll get to step 23 at about, let's say, 1 o'clock p.m. Central American time, Central Standard Time. Anyway, so thank you guys for watching. What is it? Who's it? Mr. History. Anyway, I'm glad these videos have been helping out on your HTML. All right. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So yeah, that's the end of this for right now. I'll be back at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, and